Hi guys, welcome to Distance Learning Language Arts with Miss Jarman. We've got 3 videos as part of the lesson today. This is the first one. Here is some background information for you about the article that we're going to be reading and writing about today. So watch this video, then watch the video read along of the article, and then after that we'll have some writing activities. But first, the background knowledge. Here we go. We're looking at a map of the continent of North America, which I hope you recognize. And this is just a depiction of what it was like pre-contact. So before white people of European descent ever set foot on this continent, it was still filled with people and filled with animals, filled with fish and salmon and all kinds of wildlife, and lots of different Native American tribes who lived here and made their way here since time immemorial. As folks on other continents developed the technology, they built ships and started exploring the oceans. And before long, they discovered that there was this great continent they'd never even heard of before, filled with otter for fur, and whales for oil, and all sorts of resources. So they came here to trade. After a century or more of trading, there weren't as many resources. Not only did the animals start to die because they were being hunted so much, but the native people started to die because these folks in their ships were bringing all new diseases to this continent. Diseases that they'd never seen before, that they had no resistance to. As the Native American population started to decline due to these diseases, the folks from Europe decided to stay. They would find these abandoned villages and think that they had just found it all on their own. They started building homes, they started building farms, cities, and colonizing. Colonizing means they were taking over this land and making it their own. Now, at first, colonization just started out on the port cities, places you could easily access by boat. In fact, this part right here was the original United States of America. This was what was United States when we won our independence from England. There were only 13 states, 13 colonies as they called them. But over time, these newcomers just wanted more and more of this land. And if you have Washington State history right now, this is kind of what we're learning about, the westward movement. Missionaries and traders and farmers and all sorts of people coming west. There were still people here, but they wanted it for themselves. So what ended up happening was the white people did indeed take that land for themselves. There were treaties, there were wars, there was all kinds of unrest, and it all ended with the tribal folks, the Native American people, being forced onto what we're going to call reservations. Parts of the land just set aside, parts that the white people didn't want, where they said, okay, you live here and this is your land now. You're just going to stay right there. Well, as time went by and the white people flourished and the Native American people did not, and things started getting more crowded and the white people wanted more land, they even started to take away some of the reservation land. Still, the Native American people survived. They were still here. So, what now? There are still Native people trying to thrive and survive in their very limited space, surrounded by the usurping culture, the folks who took it over. What now? Well, many white Americans simply didn't understand Native American traditions. They wanted the tribes to eat, dress, and live like white people. So to do this, the United States government set up what they called Indian boarding schools. That's a school where you go and you stay overnight and you have all your meals there and you live there and maybe you go home in the summertime. Boarding schools. They were sent far away from home to learn. Here, Native American children were often given English names and forced to dress and speak differently. And these boarding schools were all over the country. Here's a picture of one from Tulalip, Washington, in our own state, one of the boarding schools that this state had. Now, the boarding school we're going to be reading about today was the first one of its kind in Carlisle, Pennsylvania. And this picture is from Carlisle, but this was happening in boarding schools all over the country. At Carlisle, students were photographed as soon as they arrived, and then years later, they were photographed again. And this before and after, the U.S. government liked that, and they hoped that this school would make these Native people more what they thought of as American. Take a minute and really just study the before and the after picture and think about that. The story we're going to be reading today is a true story about Otukite, a member of the Lakota tribe, who was sent to this school when he was only 11 years old. So, scroll down, go to the next video. It is a read-along. There's also a PDF copy of the article attached, but do the read-along first. Please pause and listen to it again if you have trouble understanding it. You might want to watch it with somebody else in your family so that you can talk about it, but you don't have to. And when you're done, then move on to the next activity, which will be answering some questions and some writing. Here we go.